Welcome to another episode of Video Store Rejects. This is a podcast where we discuss directors' filmographies and our favorite film franchises. I'm your host, Cody House, and with me is a returning guest, Justin Doyle. Welcome, Justin, and thanks for being able to accommodate to change times up for this.
Hey, no problem at all. Thanks for having me. I always look forward to chatting with you about movies, and yeah, we're gonna talk a good one today.
Yeah, so in Justin Doyle fashion, we are discussing a film he's never seen before.
Oh yeah,
We have started Ron Howard as one of the directors we're going to be discussing, and this is not his first film, but this is his first Hollywood studio movie, and that is the 80s comedy called Night Shift.
yeah. I had no idea what this movie was about in any way. I didn't know. I think I only knew that Michael Keaton was in it, but didn't know who was starring in it, and didn't really remember that it was directed by Ron Howard, except for that's the reason why we're watching it. But yeah, I was very surprised by the content.
So yeah, we mentioned it. This is also Michael Keaton's really he'd been in some other things in small roles, but this is really his breakout role as an actor. And many people at the time, I don't know how his performance holds up today, but at the time people thought he stole the show. Like he stole the movie from Henry Winkler and anybody else, and like he became an overnight star. I think this is probably how he got Mr. Mom was off this movie.
Yeah, he comes in hot, like really aggressive and really in your face and loud. And you even from the first 2 minutes of him, coming in and introducing himself, you see all the characters to come from Michael Keaton. You see a little bit of Beetlejuice in there. You see a little, I mean, this is before Beetlejuice, of course. So you really saw, if this is his first major picture, you can see him grow into the characters that we actually really, really know him for and love him for. But yeah, it's crazy that how he's like a character actor. It really kind of comes off that way. Um, but yeah, he's definitely a scene stealer in this movie.
Yeah, what I thought was interesting is because I don't know if I really enjoyed his performance per se. It wasn't bad, but I was like, this is a lot. But
No, a
I
lot.
could see hints of Beetlejuice in this. I'm wondering if maybe not Tim Burton, but somebody else watched this movie and was like, this guy could be our Beetlejuice.
Yeah, yeah.
Because
I
I know he
mean,
was not who they originally wanted for that role. So.
mhm. Yeah. What? So you just thought it was a little bit over the top? Do you think he was like kind of overacting, or you know, he seemed to sort of come, more centered as the film went on. He wasn't really all over the place towards the end, especially, he had to deal with certain things. So,
Yeah. No, I think it's a fine performance. I think this is just probably a movie I would probably enjoyed his performance more had I seen this when I was younger.
hmm yeah.
Like I
Well,
would have
for
thought
what? Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I would have probably found him more funny if I was younger than I did right watching it right now.
Right. Well, the movie itself, did you find funny? Because I feel like maybe in 1982, this is probably the comedy of the year. Uh, Whereas, nowadays, I mean, I laughed a few times, but it's nothing like I would laugh at now at I mean, comedies are hard anyways, but yeah, did you find the movie itself to be funny?
There were parts of it that I thought were pretty funny, and I thought the general premise was kind of funny, which is actually loosely based on something Brian Grazer read in a paper that was going on.
Hmm.
Which is interesting. I did know that Brian Grazer and Ron Howard have been working together their entire careers. So, like, he's been his
Yeah,
producing guy from the beginning here.
yeah, that's so crazy to see. And yeah, they're a big great duo. But yeah, so the movie itself is it's Henry Winkler lives or works at a morgue, and he takes in dead bodies, and then it turns out he has to flip over and work the night shift, and Michael Keaton comes and joins him on there, and his neighbor, Henry Winkler's neighbor, is a prostitute and looking for a pimp. So Michael Keaton has the idea that from the morgue that they would pimp out these ladies. And it's
Yep,
such
and
an
thus
interesting concept.
thus comedy ensues in some degree. But what I did like about it was like I was actually impressed with Henry Winkler, even though his performance is the Henry Winkler persona we kind of know more now today. But in 1982, I'm surprised people weren't like, why is the Fonz playing such a square? He's like, it's a schlub.
Yeah. Well, I read that he was filming the show at the same time. I was filming this movie.
Yeah, which is crazy. I didn't know Happy Days was still on the air at this point, but I guess it was.
Yeah, well, maybe he was a grandfather by then, right? I mean, he he wasn't the Fonz anymore. I mean, it's how because then he would have to have his hair dyed like Thursday, Fridays, right? So I don't know. I don't know how he did it, but yeah, that's a hardworking actor right there. But yeah, this is at the prime, the height of the Fonz, and everyone knew who he was. So to see him, yeah, as sort of this, stiff, pun intended, um, is was really interesting because I watched it as a kid and I really enjoyed Happy Days, the reruns and stuff. So he was always one of my favorite characters. Yeah, and to see him in this is very, very interesting. Um, but yeah, they're a good duo. I think together it really worked out. You know, yeah, they complemented each other.
Yeah, it's a good energy back and forth. And what's interesting here is I'm reading that Kurt Russell and Mickey Rourke were considered for the Michael Keaton role.
Hmm. Yeah, I had read that as well. Um, Also, that Kevin Costner is a backup
Apparently he's in
artist.
the movie. He's one of
Yeah,
the
which
frat guys.
I mean, I wouldn't be able to tell, you know.
Nope.
But other familiar faces, Richard Belzer, rest in peace.
Yes, sadly, Richard Belzer, rest in peace. One of his first movies. I guess he's like I don't know, are they pimps or are they like collecting off the profits that they're making? Because that's how the movie starts, is Richard Belzer and this other guy are chasing the dead pimp that Shelley Long's character has to
Right.
identify at the morgue.
So they're the heavies against pimps if they don't maybe pay like their corner or whatever. They have to pay a certain amount for something. Um, but yeah. Did we ever see his face though? I feel like it was just his hair and sort of his body and mannerisms that led me to believe that it was Richard Belzer. I don't really remember them. He had sort of like longer hair.
You see his face, but it looks like he's wearing, because he always wore glasses, so I don't know if like he's wearing sunglasses or like Because it looks like his eyes. You don't see his eyes really in most of the movie.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, how about the thought of Ron Howard in comedies? Because we don't normally get that.
Well, he directed a lot of comedies early in his career, right? So he does this, and then he does Splash, and he does Cocoon. He does
That is
another
not a
movie.
comedy.
Well, you call that a dramedy? I've never seen Cocoon. I know it's got like a sci-fi element to
Yeah,
it, but
I don't think there's comedy in it at all.
okay. And then he directs Gung Ho, which is another film with Michael Keaton.
Uh-huh.
Parenthood is, I guess, a dramedy. Then he kind of sways away once he gets into the 90s. He's done a few since then, but not as many.
Yeah. But
Like,
I thought it worked out really well. I think he, like what we've seen of him now and what he does now, the last movie being 13 Lives, which is, based on a true story and really thrilling and edge of your seat, especially if you don't know what's going on. But yeah, I kind of liked seeing this different Ron Howard because I haven't seen the other ones that he's known for comedy movies. So I really liked
okay.
seeing that side of him. And normally, yeah, like Hillbilly Elegy. So, but
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it just shows and proves what kind of director he is. He can do it all. He's not as good as Spielberg, but he can do, he does a lot of different genres.
He's a true journeyman director. He comes in, he shoots the movie on time with budget, and he knows how to set up a shot and get good performances from his actors because he was an actor, so that helps.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's not what we would call an auteur director. Like if I showed you multiple Ron Howard movies, you'd be like, I couldn't tell you Ron Howard directed that if that his name's on the movie.
Yeah. 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 I mean, he doesn't have that sort of what a Tarantino would have and what Scorsese had, and even Spielberg has. He has his own. He mixes it up every time, because when 13 Lives came out, you would think that knowing that Ron Howard directed it would be a big factor, but I think it just kind of came out, and then people were like, "Wait a second, Ron Howard directed this movie?" Uh, and then because yeah, we knew about Hillbilly Elegy before, and we knew Ron Howard was directing it, and then 13 Lives just kind of came out, and it was like, oh, he's doing that. All right.
Yeah, he's done a little bit of everything, and yeah, I think this is a solid. It's not a debut, but it kind of is because his first movie was a very low B grade Roger Corman picture that didn't a lot of people didn't see, but it made its money back.
What was it?
It's called Grand Theft Auto.
Oh.
It's
And
about him marrying, wanting to marry this girl that's rich, and the parents don't want her marrying him, so she steals her dad's car, and they're on a like trying to drive from LA to Vegas, and the fiance she's supposed to marry like says I'll pay anyone $25,000 who gets her back, and then his mom tries to go after him and says I'll pay anyone 25,000 who gets him, and then all these people start just chasing them down the interstate as they're trying to drive to Vegas. It,
how come this
it's
one
silly.
doesn't count though? Like, why?
Well,
What?
it does count, but like, you know, it wasn't backed by a major studio, so like no one really saw it, and it's really hard to find a copy of now.
Mm.
I think it's up on YouTube, but yeah, like this is probably more considered his debut film.
You guys aren't going in order?
Oh, we already did that one.
Yeah. But you and
But
I already
but
talked
we talked Grinch
yeah.
because of Christmas time, and I did Willow. We've already done Willow because
Okay.
we were doing that for fantasy. But other than that, we should go in order for the rest of them.
Oh man, there's some good ones.
Mm-hmm.
Dang. Cool. Yeah, he likes he also likes doing documentaries.
Yeah, he's done a few of those.
Are you going to be covering those, or you guys stop not doing this?
Just the feature films.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So Shelley Long is in this movie,
Mm-hmm.
and how as Belinda, the prostitute. What did you think about her?
I think she's good. I think her and Henry Winkler have decent chemistry. I think she plays the good romantic lead female protagonist. I want to say this is right before Cheers hits or around the same time as Cheers comes on television.
Mm-hmm.
So this was kind of a big year for her too.
Yeah. Well, I knew her from The Parent Trap or Freaky Friday. Freaky Friday, right?
That's
Uh,
are you which one? Because I don't think she's in either of those.
oh, okay. Or was she was the mom in the Brady Bunch, right?
Yes, that's what she's the mom in the Brady Bunch.
So to see her do that and then to watch this movie where she plays prostitute is really interesting.
You're like, what? No, Mrs.
Yeah.
Brady, what are you doing?
Yeah, but so Henry is in a relationship and it's not really going anywhere. Well, they're engaged and obviously he's not happy. And he starts kind of falling for Shelley Long, Belinda.
Mm-hmm.
With her job, would you do that? Would you? I mean, I know you
That was
can't help love, but when you see the red flags to begin with.
yeah. I don't think I could, but who knows? Who knows? Because this is a character trope, right? This is a character trope. The prostitute with a heart of gold.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And she meets a nice guy, but I mean, they have that scene where they hook up, and then he's all like, "Were you pretending?"
yeah. She said no, she wasn't. But that's also the first time that we see him after that scene. He becomes sort of the Michael Keaton character. Comes through the door the same sort of way, loud and obnoxious. I guess that's all it took was a little loving.
What? Well, also he gets very possessive, right? Like he's like, "Oh, well, we slept together, so now you got to quit being a prostitute." Because,
Yeah,
but he doesn't say like, "Well, I love you and I don't want you
right,
to do this anymore." And I was like, well, why didn't he just make her a partner? Like make her like one of the and that's one of the things I did like about this movie because like so his character was like an accountant or some kind of numbers guy for some firm or something, right? But he got stressed out at that job and
yeah,
went to work at the morgue because it's a nice, quiet job. No one's gonna bother him. And he's like, "You ladies get to keep 90% of your profits. We're just asking for 10%. That's all we need." And I'm like, hey, no wonder. Yeah, that's a good idea because they're doing most of the work. You're basically
yeah.
just like their agent.
I mean, really, they're there just to make sure like they don't get beat up and stuff, and like money gets collected, right?
Yeah, basically that's it. That's the job.
Which is insane. Insane. Um, I really thought it was funny, and I don't. think it happens is as soon as the prostitution stuff starts, we never see any more work happen again, right? We
Right? They're
never see
not doing anything at the morgue.
we don't see bodies come in. We don't see them driving to go pick up bodies, and like it just, I guess it just stopped at nobody died ever from the time that they signed with them until the end of the movie. I mean, it was just ridiculous.
And I also think, and I was just saying this out loud, I was like, when they get caught and they meet the lawyer, and the lawyer's like, well, it's an election year, and the mayor's just really embarrassed that any of this happened. So we'd rather just sweep this under the rug and no one knows. I'm like, oh my God, this is white privilege, right? Like, come on.
Oh, totally. I mean, in politics, right? Like that's just then nobody wants them, their name to be uh tampered, and so whatever they can do to sweep it under the rug and have it hidden is just insane. Like I'm sure that happens every day here in America especially, but yeah, that was dumb. We do get to see the cameo from the brother.
Yes, Clint Howard is another staple of a Ron Howard movie. As Clint Howard's going to show up, he's the young man. Because before they get on this whole entrepreneur business, Michael Keaton's already like side hustling to get extra money, using the morgue vehicle to drop people off.
It's a
And one
limo,
of the
right?
guys, yeah, he's driving Clint to a ball, but then we see Clint later at the stag party or fraternity party they're having in the morgue.
Yeah, and he has lady friend,
Yeah.
which yeah, I wonder if he begged his brother for it. It's like, please.
Well,
Also,
Ron Howard is making out with his wife in the hallway of Henry Winkler's apartment.
never ever noticed. And then he's also, it says that he's the saxophonist as well on the train.
Yeah. Yeah, he's the saxophone player that won't stop playing till
He
Henry
pays
Winkler
up.
writes him a check.
What a silly gag. I just like that as soon as he paid, he started playing like crappy. He didn't even,
Mhm.
he was good, and then he got the money, and he's like, no, this is actually how I really sound. Um, yeah, it just was a classic 80s comedy movie here. It hit all the marks. I can't believe that Henry Winkler was still doing Happy Days at this time. I guess Ron
Yeah,
Howard
that
was
is.
also, right?
No, I think Ron Howard had already left the show
Okay.
because they still kept going after he left. Because I think like the Fonz like moved in with the Cunninghams or something.
Mm. Vincent Schiavelli makes an appearance. Is he not one of the scariest looking guys there is?
Yes, he's so intense. I would not want a sandwich delivered from him.
And what he does is just so crazy. But he's in the movie Ghost, and always scared me in that movie. And
Yeah, he's the subway guy, right?
yeah, so scary. He's just got that look. But it says that Michael Keaton and Vincent Schiavelli would later be in Batman Returns together. Do you remember what Schiavelli did in Returns?
Yeah, he's one of the Penguin's goons. He's got like the organ grinder.
Of course, that makes all the sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
another.
apparently
Yeah.
Richard Belzer is Henry Winkler's cousin.
Oh yeah, look at that.
I didn't know that.
Mm, mm. Guess you know. keep it in the family.
There you go.
Ron Howard and Henry Winkler later collaborate on Arrested Development. Did you
Yeah,
ever see
was
that
Henry?
show?
I've seen episodes. Is Henry Winkler a character on that? Because I know Ron Howard was a producer and the narrator.
Well, I think Henry did a lot of directing.
Okay.
I think he did some directing work because I don't remember him in it. Yeah. I do
So
love me some Tambor though. Yeah.
a, another actor that is one of their first scenes, and one of the scenes I think is pretty funny, is Shannon Doherty was one of the Girl Scouts that's beating Henry Winkler when they open the elevator and they think he's
Yeah.
mugging Shelley Long and he's just looking for a handkerchief or something in her purse when he
Okay. So
finds her.
those were cookies then.
Yeah.
Okay. They look like cigarette cartons. So I was like, why are these kids holding cigarette cartons and beating the guy with it? So yeah, glad to know that. But yeah, Shannon
Yeah.
Doherty, she's on Beverly Hills 90210.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And
82.
you mentioned this being an 80s movie. Apparently, this became like a trend in an 80s movie of like the nice guy becoming a pimp because Tom Cruise does Risky Business a year later.
Oh yeah.
And there's a movie with Dan Aykroyd called Dr. Detroit. I've never seen that.
That's the same thing,
Yeah.
like same sort of storyline.
I mean, I guess it's not like at the morgue though, but it's like a nice guy becomes like a pimp and starts a prostitution ring.
Okay. Oh my
And
gosh.
apparently it lists other 80s movies, Best Little Whorehouse in Texas, Bachelor Party, and Porky's Revenge as other 80s comedies that have or said or have something to do with brothels.
Yeah. I guess it was big in the day. I don't, I don't think it happens much anymore, but what we do see is strippers. We see a lot of stripper
Yeah.
movies. So there's that. Um, well, yeah, this was I enjoyed this. Do you like Ron Howard overall as a director?
I think he's a good director. I wouldn't say he's like one of my favorite directors. Like I'm not gonna like, oh, I gotta see whatever Ron Howard's directed, but like he's made some really good movies. But he's also made some movies that I'm like, yeah, that's okay.
Uh,
And that's the mission of a journeyman director. Like it's a roll of the dice of how the movie's gonna go. But
you-
it's not like he does a bad job anytime he makes a movie. It's just, sometimes the scripts are better than others.
you're always, yeah, you'll have peaks and valleys. They all can't just be 100%. Um, but yeah, this movie, I guess, I don't know, back in the day maybe seemed to do all right. It came out in July.
Yeah,
$88.1 million budget with a worldwide gross of 21 million. So like that's good, right? For that sort of time.
yeah. I mean, it made his money back, and
Yeah.
you know, Ron Howard gets to make more movies, and Michael Keaton sort of becomes a pretty popular actor in the era. Of course, he would go on to do much more because people realized he was more than just a comedic actor.
Yeah. Oh man, I mean nobody knows him as that, as soon as Batman came around and you just don't really think of him that way. Um have you seen Multiplicity?
Yes, I've seen Multiplicity. I do enjoy that movie.
Me too, and very much. I've seen it a bunch of times. I also saw some of those guys coming to life in from this night shift. I can hear like Does my peppy thief. Like he kind of did that voice a couple times. And I'm like, okay, I mean, I see this. This is really fun to watch it all sort of play out and see where it kind of stemmed from. 6.5 on IMDb, 93% on Rotten Tomatoes. Audience though, 63%. Where are you sitting? Somewhere in between there?
I think I gotta side with the audience on this. This is a solid, decent comedy, but I'm not sure what the rewatchability of this is. Like, I don't know if I'm gonna be like, oh, let me go back and watch Night Shift again. You know?
Yeah, but as I mentioned before, like this was probably like the comedy of the year, right? I mean, it had a lot of quips and a lot of pratfalls, and like him writing him a check for a tip for the saxophone player on the bus, like that's a fun gag, and I wonder like how well it really played over for the audience.
I would
Because
imagine
it's
in 82, this probably did pretty well with audiences, and especially just the concept of the plot had to be like, what? Come on, this is ridiculous.
yeah. Um, do you have comedies that you watch more than once? Because sometimes when
Yeah.
you kind of know the jokes, it's not as funny anymore. Or what do you think?
Oh, are you saying like, do comedies kind of lose their sting if you've seen them so many times?
Yeah, I'm just asking. Yeah, what do you think?
It varies. It varies. I think it boils down to like just how well done the script is, because there are even comedies where the material is definitely dated and not funny if you like look at the context of when it was made, that still work as like entertainment.
Hmm.
But for large and large, if the script is just kind of like this one, it's decent. Yeah, it kind of is hard to hold up, with the passage of time. And once you've seen it once or twice, you kind of, I know where these jokes are going. But comedy's so subjective. That's what one person thinks is hilarious, another person would be like, that's annoying.
Also, your mood and the time of day and like the type of day, like all of that can have an effect on how you feel. Um, but yeah, that's why I love movies so much, because it's always in the eye of the beholder. Some other major comedies that came out in '82 was Tootsie.
Okay, well, that was probably the comedy of the year.
Okay, haven't seen it.
Probably from critics, and that was a really popular movie.
Yeah, $177 million it grossed.
Yeah.
Night Shift was number two. Oh, this is according to IMDb, I guess. Number three is Diner
Okay. Yeah.
with
Yeah, I've seen
Gutenberg.
that. Yeah, that's a Baltimore movie. That's a Barry Levinson coming of age story.
Yeah, Barry Levinson. Haven't even heard of this movie. Eating Raoul. Victor
Mm,
Victoria.
I've never seen that, but I heard of it.
Okay, and then
That's
how?
Julie Andrews, so
Yeah, and
yeah.
James Garner. Comedy musical, right?
Mm-hmm. Blake Edwards.
The King of Comedy.
Oh God.
Great.
Scorsese, De Niro, Jerry
Yeah.
Lewis, basically playing like a Johnny Carson type of character. Yeah,
Okay,
it's
so
great.
he reprised his role in Joker.
De Niro's basically playing like the Jerry Lewis role in Joker.
Okay. Yeah, I need to check that one out. We're about to get to a big one here, but the next one, The World According to Garp.
Yeah, I
That's
haven't seen that. They consider that a comedy? I'm pretty
well,
sure
if you
that's
have
a because
it
it has
says
Robin
comedy
Williams in it.
exactly. It says comedy drama, so I'm assuming that anything that has Mr. Williams in it, people think that it's funny. But here we
I
go.
haven't seen that, but that's pretty dramatic from what I understand.
Yeah, an unfaithful wife and a feminist mother, best-selling manifesto turns her into a cultural icon. Hilarious. Okay, this one's huge. Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Yes. Yes, that's a classic.
That's got to be the biggest of the year then, right? So far, that's got to be the big one. I guess
That
Tootsie made the
launches,
most money, but
yeah, Fast Time launches not just Amy Heckerling's directing career, but also kind of launches Cameron Crowe's uh phase into film because he was a journalist before that, and he wrote a book because you've seen Almost Famous, right?
yeah.
And so Cameron Crowe graduated high school early. And so when he's working at Rolling Stone, they have him go to a San Diego high school and pretend to be a high school student. And he's like probably 21 at the time, maybe even younger. And he writes a book about like the whole year he pretended to be a high school student.
And this is that's this.
That's what the movie's based off is Cameron Crowe's book.
Oh my
And he wrote
gosh!
the screenplay.
Wow, I did not know that. It
Yeah,
actually
and
makes me want to go watch it because through that lens, that's really interesting. Because as you're saying it, I'm like, it sounds like a good movie.
I mean, you
uh,
don't see that in the movie, right? You don't see a
right?
guy. It's just
No,
he
yeah,
takes these certain characters of stereotypes
yeah.
and makes a story around them. But God, that launched so many actors' careers. Like, there's even actors that have small roles in it that go on to be
Hmm.
like huge stars. It really was like the American Graffiti of its day, even though it's like just a decade after American Graffiti.
Uh, okay, so Cameron wasn't. He's not the the Sean Penn character. It's just that was a character he saw along the way and made
Yeah,
him the
the Sean
star.
Penn, yeah. It's basically so Sean Penn's like the pothead.
Yeah,
Phoebe Cates is like, oh, the popular hot girl. Jennifer Jason Leigh and Judge Reinhold are a brother sister. They're like
yeah.
more of like the everyday all American kids. Um, who else is really who it's following?
Robert Romanus.
Yeah,
Romanus.
there's two other guys. I don't really know their names, but there's two guys, and one of them's supposed to be like the cool guy, and the other one's like kind of the nerdy guy. And oh, Vincent Chevelle's in that as the science teacher.
Mr. Vargas. Yeah, Mr.
Yeah,
Scavelli or Vincent. Yeah. Let's
yeah.
see some of the Eric Stoltz. Um,
Mm-hmm. Nicolas
uh,
Cage, Forrest
Mo-
Whitaker.
yeah. Wow. Yeah, Forrest Whitaker, crazy. Okay, I'll go through in the next few. Stop me when you think of one that you want to chat about for this year. My favorite year,
Never
um,
seen it.
Death Trap, which is a Sidney Lumet movie.
Oh, I've never seen it, but I hear it's great. That's Christopher Reeve. It's like a murder mystery or
Yeah,
space. Yeah.
Michael Caine. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Come Back to the Five and Dime, Jimmy Dean. Jimmy Dean.
Never seen
Robert.
it. It's a Robert Altman film with Cher, Sissy
Uh,
Spacek, and I forget who the other lady is.
okay, Annie,
Annie, which
the
at the
OG.
time was a huge flop, like
Well,
financially.
57 million. Yeah, that doesn't seem to bode well for them. Uh, author.
Oh, that's a Al Pacino movie based on a Neil Simon play. It's kind of cute. It's like he's a widowed playwright. It's kind of a
Hmm.
different performance for Pacino at the time.
Yeah, yep. I'm sure you know this one. A Midsummer Night's Sex Comedy.
Is that a Woody Allen movie?
Yeah, that was the
Of
only
course
reason
it
why.
is.
Yeah, I would think you would know it. Grease 2. Lots of
Uh,
musicals this year. Wow. And they're all in the comedy category. Okay, The Last American Virgin.
I don't think that's a comedy, but that's in that because Porky's comes out this year too. So you have Porky's, Last American Virgin, and Fast Times at Ridgemont High. So you have these teen sex movies.
Best Friends.
I don't know that one.
Burt Reynolds and Goldie Hawn.
Okay. I guess this is still the height of Burt.
Yeah, it looks
Burt
great.
Mania.
Goldie looks great. Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid.
Steve Martin. I hear that's hilarious. I've never seen it.
Carl Reiner, yeah. Okay, just a few more here. The Party 2, which looks like it was international. The Drought Man's Contract, Peter Greenway movie.
I have no idea what that is.
The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas, you brought that up earlier.
Yep.
Airplane 2, the sequel, and then finally Bingo Bongo. These
I
are the
don't
biggest.
know what Bingo Bongo is.
No, looks international. The 80s. And there's a monkey in it.
Of course there is.
Yeah. So it looks like that's what Night Shift had to go up against that year. But I think you're right. Tootsie, and it may have been the biggest. The ones that I've, hear the most about still to this day is Diner, The King of Comedy, and then Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Well, yeah, because Fast Times is such a, it's such a transitional film for not just launching all these people's careers, but like this was a movie like teens at the time were going to see because it's set at the time, modern time. Like it's not like a time capsule movie like a lot of these. Like it's not Cameron Crowe and Amy Hector being like, oh, when we were young. No, they're making a movie about kids of the early 80s. So that's probably why such at the time people are like, oh, they made a movie about us and it's like realistic and then King of Comedy, of course, that's Scorsese and De Niro teaming up again. So and then Diner, yeah, that's another because it's Paul Reiser, Daniel Stern, Mickey Rourke, it's a lot of these.
The Goots.
Gutenberg, yeah. So, and then Tootsie, of course, is, Dustin Hoffman, and the concept's like Dustin Hoffman's got to dress up as a lady to get work.
I have seen the Broadway show, but not the movie. And that is really sad. Tootsie, by the way.
Yep.
Idiot. I should just see the movie.
You should see it. It's pretty fun. I don't know if it's like the greatest movie ever made, but it's pretty funny.
Do you know of Henry Winkler as a director much?
No. What has he directed? Is it mostly television?
Yeah, but a story that I heard was that he was directing. Well, I guess he's a character on Arrested Development. It says Barry Zuckerkorn. But that he was directing Turner and Hooch, the movie.
No.
And so when you think of Hollywood and the nicest guys ever, you always think Tom Hanks, right? And then people say Henry Winkler.
Yeah, and Ron Howard.
Well, sure, right. Well, if you go on Henry Winkler's IMDb page, it doesn't say that he directed the movie. And that is because he did not get along with Tom Hanks. And Tom Hanks did not like him. So he got him fired.
Dang, Tom Hanks.
Yeah. So the two nicest guys in Hollywood actually don't like each other at all.
Maybe their niceness was like, you can't be the nice guy. I'm the nice guy.
Yeah, I just don't know what happened, but that is the story I heard, that Henry was directing the movie and then ended up not directing it anymore.
I don't think Keaton got to be as big of an actor as Tom Hanks, but they have similar career trajectories. Like they both start out as comedic actors. before they transitioned to more dramatic roles.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder why one was more successful than the other. Batman. Batman got in his way.
I think Batman got in his way. I think he kind of took roles or took jobs that maybe hurt his career. And I know like he kind of slowed down while he was raising his son for a while.
Yeah.
And he's got like they are similar, but Keaton's got like, which I guess is why he got cast as Batman, but he's got like a darker edge to him than Tom Hanks has.
Yeah.
So it's like he's not going to get exactly the same kind of gigs Hanks gets, and then Hanks just blows up and is like in hit after hit after hit for like over a decade. Like I think from like League of Their Own to Road to Perdition, everything he was in, or maybe even Polar Express, everything he was in made like over $100 million domestically.
Insane. I did find a quote from Henry Winkler about Turner and Hooch. He said, "Let's just say I got along better with Hooch than I did with Turner."
Bam.
Yeah.
Dang. Finding that Tom Hanks dirt.
Can't believe it.
Jeez, who would have thunk?
Yeah.
Man. Was there
Well,
anything else about Night Shift you want to talk about? I mean, there's
I
not a
have
lot. It's not a lot to get in depth here. It is what it is.
no. I mean, yeah, it's a prostitution ring that happens at a morgue, and there's comedy that ensues, and it's. I mean, yeah, I had a great time watching it, and I yeah probably would give it around the 72% ish around there if we're doing Rotten Tomatoes. But yeah, like I have heard of this movie, and knowing that's Michael Keaton's one of his first roles, because I love Michael Keaton. But yeah, I just enjoyed it, and I'm so glad that I get to come on and do this show with you to find these movies that I would never, maybe not never, but I just never get just think about seeing. So I'm glad that I got to see this one, and I've always been a fan of Ron Howard. We talked Dr. Seuss, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, which is one of my favorite movies. Jim Carrey. Uh, but yeah, I don't know. I like seeing it, Ron Howard do a comedy because I don't get to see that too much. But overall, I enjoyed it, and it's definitely worth the view.
Okay, so you answered my question. I was going to ask if it was worth the view. And one other thing I want to add is something this movie does that movies don't do anymore. This movie has a theme song. Like I guess that was a thing in the 80s. Like they've recorded a theme song for the movie,
Uh huh.
which which and I do besides the ridiculousness of the plot, I kind of feel Henry Winkler because I used to work night shift at an admissions unit at a state hospital. And it can be like the most quietest job ever or like the loudest nonstop excitement the whole night, depending on how your
Yeah.
night goes.
Well, right, and it's like, well, if it's quiet, that means it's going well,
Yes.
right? And then
Yeah.
if it's loud, that means like it's bad news for some people.
Hmm.
Wow, that would be crazy.
Yeah.
Uh,
Busy may make your shift go by, but you'd rather be sitting there counting the hours and being bored because you're like, yeah, I'll
yeah,
sit for 8 hours and not have to do a lot than having to deal with when it is busy.
yeah, because that just means a bad night.
Hmm.
No, but it's definitely worth the view. I recommend it, and I think it's like a $3 rental, and I think you could spend your money worse somewhere else. I mean, just think of it as like a Blockbuster rental. You just rent it and see the movie. I think it's worth that.
Yeah, I was glad it was a less than $5 rental. It actually is pretty cheap to buy, but since I'd never seen it before, I was like, I'm not gonna buy it because I'll
Yeah,
do that sometimes for one of these movies that like aren't available to stream and I don't already own them. If they're like $10 or less to buy, sometimes I'll just go ahead and buy them.
yeah,
If if I
yeah,
know I like them enough, I'm like, yeah, I'll buy that for 10, $8. That's not a bad price.
yeah.
Yeah, but
Cheaper than the movie theater.
that's for sure. But yeah, I was kind of glad to check out Keaton's first role since we're gonna be seeing him this summer in the theaters.
Spoiler.
I didn't say what movie he's in. Said we're seeing him.
I know it sucked. It already got spoiled for me because yeah, I won't say it, but
Did you
yeah,
watch the Super Bowl? Because that would have done it.
no, I did, but you know, when I don't
You
watch
ran out
trailers,
there
so
in the commercials. Ah.
no, you just mute it and then don't look at the TV,
Mm.
but yeah, let's just say I thought it was somebody else, and then I heard on a podcast that it was him, and I'm like, oh, okay.
All right. Well,
I was hoping
I'm
it was him.
excited.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, we all should be. Um, Sweet. And
Um,
then does Ron have something coming out soon, or do we know?
I don't know if he's got any projects in the pipeline, like, because 13 Lives just came out last year, kind of
Mm,
dropped on Amazon in the middle of August. People
mm-hmm.
that have seen it said it's really good, like it's one of his better movies in a while. And I remember some people saying it should have gotten some like effects nominations or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then yeah, no, I don't know if he's got another project like as far as like a directing project coming
Yeah,
out. But don't be surprised if there's a new Ron Howard movie in like a year or two from now cuz
yeah,
he works like that fast.
yeah. Doesn't have any directing. Oh, The Shrinking of Treehorn is in post production,
Oh, so
and
he's
that's
already wrapped a movie.
yeah, yep. Based on a book, and yeah. Oh, it says this follows a young man who begins shrinking in size after playing a strange board game, which goes largely unnoticed by his parents. The Shrinking of Treehorn.
Okay.
Okay.
Like I
Release
said,
date November of this year.
of this year? Oh my goodness. Dang, Ron
Dang.
Howard. He's
Look at him
working
go.
all the time,
Good
cranking
for
those
him.
movies out. Well,
13 Lives is awesome, by the way, if you haven't. Well, you'll get to see it because you're
I
doing
will
this.
eventually see it. Yes, that's probably why I haven't already watched it. I'm like, well, I'm gonna watch it eventually.
Mm.
But
Cool.
well, thank you for coming on. I always enjoy it. I'm glad you like to pick movies you've never seen before.
I love it.
I think there's only well, yeah, you did pick those two Coen Brothers movies that weren't that great, but it's like usually you end up pleasantly surprised. You're not usually disappointed.
Well, I had seen The Tragedy, so that one doesn't count. What was the one before?
The Intolerable Cruelty and Lady Killers.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that was fun. That was fun. Those are
But,
interesting movies.
but if people want to check your stuff out, where can they check it
Oh
out
yeah.
at?
Well, you actually can see Cody on a few of them from this past week. A couple of them, you can check me out at Worth Review Movies and all the things. Pretty much posting daily. Yeah, go over to TikTok and YouTube where you can have we get full discussions of movies. Longer. I usually just put out a minute long. People don't have attention span, so just a minute long review of why I think the movie that I saw was worth the view. And well, because every movie is worth at least the one viewing, but find out why this one, it was worth this view. But yeah, you and I talked Chirac for Black History
Mm-hmm.
Month, and we also talked Empire of Light because it's up for best cinematography at the Oscars. Which speaking of awards, the SAG Awards are about to start soon.
Oh, that's
Which
right. They are.
you can
Yeah.
check that out on YouTube and Netflix, Netflix's YouTube page. But
So is that going to be on Netflix next year? Like, are they going to be the home of the Screen Actors Guild?
wow, maybe that'd be crazy. Well, yeah, I mean, football has been doing games that way. Where like Peacock will have
Yeah,
exclusive football games
Peacock and
and
Amazon.
Amazon, exactly. Yeah, so that'd be insane. That would just be insane. Like,
I will
uh,
probably check the updates instead of watching the whole ceremony, but I am very
yeah,
interested to see if Austin Butler wins Best Actor. I think if he wins Best Actor, he's going to get the Oscar.
yeah. This is the next step into telling what's going to happen. I believe whoever wins Best Cast usually wins Best Picture. Uh, and that would be insane if Babylon won Best Cast, but it was not up for Best Picture. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, Everything Everywhere All at Once could be up. By the way, I rewatched that movie. It's pretty damn awesome. That was a pretty awesome
Mm-hmm.
movie. Good for Jamie Lee Curtis getting that nomination, though. I will have to say that.
Oh, it is. It is a very much a valid nomination. I was just very glad they also nominated Stephanie Sue because I get why they nominated Jamie Lee Curtis because she's never been nominated before. She's acting royalty.
Mhm.
Like they want to recognize her, but like if she was recognized and Stephanie Sue wasn't, I'd been like, that's not fair because that's the more worthy performance to be nominated out of the movie.
Yeah. Yep. 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 It's gonna be. This is already crazy. The best picture is the one that I just don't see. I don't know where it's going. I don't know where it's going. It used to be The Fablemans was a
Well,
lock, and now All Quiet on the
I
Western
don't think
Front could be the
Fablemans is a
upsetter.
lot.
No, well, it used to be. It was
It,
like
it,
before
it
the Oscar
All
nominations came out.
Quiet could be an upsetter, but I don't even think it's in the top five personally.
No, maybe 6 or 7,
I
maybe 5.
I would probably put it number 6 or number 7. I think Top Gun Maverick has a better chance of winning Best Picture than All Quiet at the Western Front.
Wow, I mean, I would love that, but
I don't think
dang,
that's going to happen. I
no,
think it has a better chance just because of how popular, because everyone likes Top Gun Maverick, like pretty
yeah,
much.
yeah, oh yeah, 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 and people, are kind of like a little bit indifferent on Avatar too, even though it made the
Yeah,
money, but
no, that is probably number 9 or number 10 for on the top
oh,
of the
mm,
10 nominees.
yeah,
Yeah.
same.
Maybe Women
Uh,
Talking is number 10 and then Avatar's number 9, but I haven't seen Women Talking yet. It's
oh,
probably the
it's so
better
good.
movie, but
Yeah, it's so good.
and then yeah, and then it's probably like All
I
Quiet, Triangle, and Elvis all right there at that 876 spot.
Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, Triangle doesn't have a chance. That's my number one out of the 10, and then Mavericks number two. But
Yeah.
yeah, Elvis is a little bit down there in Fablemans, but yeah, we'll see. We shall see.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited. Hope everyone else is excited, and I'm excited to hear more Ron Howard talk. Maybe I'll do like a little watch along where whatever movie you guys do, I'll watch it too. So because there's a lot I haven't seen from him. What's your next one?
Well, Well, we're gonna be doing Henson and Oz in March, so the next Ron Howard film will be Splash when we get to that. That's probably gonna be in April. Don't have a guest yet, so it may just be me and Chris talking that one. But yeah.
I remember this movie being on when I was a kid, but I don't remember much. But this was like a movie my mom had on, you know.
Right. That one's on Disney Plus, though there's some controversy of like the version you watch on Disney Plus because they edit out something of Daryl Hannah's that's in the movie.
Got it. Golfed
So,
it.
but
Okay.
Tom Hanks, John Candy, Eugene Levy. It's pretty fun.
Daryl Hannah, Smoke Show.
Yeah.
Cool.
But thank you again.
My man. Thank you.
Always fun talking to you.
Yes.
And I hope most of the people you voted for win this ag.
Yeah. I mean, I'm always in the minority, so you know, I have my favorites are never everybody else's favorites. Like Babylon, people think is like the biggest piece of trash there was this year. So
Okay, they obviously, if they think that movie's trash, then they're just not. Even if you don't like Babylon, it's kind of hard not to recognize the talent filmmaking going on in there.
I have read so much that people are like, "Oh, this is a waste of time," and blah, blah. I'm like, get out. So.
I'd watch Babylon 10 times more than like I don't know, like Black Adam.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Not that Black Adam was well received, but I'm just saying like that is like, when you want to talk about superhero movies that are kind of just whatever, that was like a whatever movie for me. Like I didn't care what was happening. I was like, The Rock is like has no charisma in this. Like the only person I liked in that movie was Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah. Did you like Quantumania over Black Adam?
Yes, because at least it was fun. Like,
Okay.
and Jonathan Majors ruled.
Oh yeah. I mean, we'll see him up for an Oscar next year, I bet. Or this year.
And like
This next year.
there's like I don't want to give spoilers away, but there is like a funny back and forth with Michael Douglas and Michelle Pfeiffer that's pretty fun.
Yeah, and I can say this because it's in the trailer because I watched it after I saw the movie, but Bill Murray's in it.
Yeah, and he pops for what little bit he's in there. So
yeah, they're taking all the legends.
Hey, I mean, everybody is eventually probably going to be in a Marvel movie except for Leo. He's the only one that's kind of staying away from all this stuff.
Well, Brad's done it, so he can do it.
Yeah. He probably won't though, unless somebody big directs one of them.
Tarantino.
Yeah, Tarantino's not going to do a Marvel movie.
No. He's no sellout.
All right, man.
Cool. Thanks
Thanks
buddy.
a lot.
You're amazing.
Have a
Thanks
good
for
evening.
having me. You too. We'll talk soon.
Bye.